without the power.
Yeah, John's got no excuse.
Football Part 99 edition. We're live. We got the pregame chit chat. We got the postgame festivities. We got a jam-packed edition here on this December 17th, 2020. RIC in a place to be. Tell it like it is when it comes to the NFL draft and everything football here on the State of Football, your new home for real football talk in the mornings. Of course, weekdays, 9 a.m. Eastern live, 5 days a week. Saturday morning, the NFL Draft Tailgate Show. And today, we've got a jam-packed edition. Still waiting for my co-host. Hopefully, John Murphy has got the internet situation. I see him working it out. We'll pop him up here in a second. But like he does each and every Thursday, we have Dane Vandernat, the Director of College Recruiting for the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl, someone I'm very excited and proud to work alongside. And ring the bells. We've got breaking news to announce here somewhat. And so to do that, we welcome in Dane to the show. Dane, good morning, brother. How are you?
Hey, Rick, man, just glad to see you back in here and see John populate up here and come join us, man. But doing great, Rick.
And I know we got a special announcement we're going to get to in just a second, but I cannot start it off without introducing my co-host each and every day here down in New Orleans. He's got the internet situation resolved. John Murphy, VP of Personnel for Toronto Argonauts, two-time Grey Cup champion, of course, NFL Draft Bible familiar. How are you today, John?
Doing good.
All right, so let's kick it off, Dane. I know it's an exciting week for us at the NFLPA Bowl because, well, I'll let you tell it.
Yeah, no, it's an exciting week because we had our first 90 invitations getting processed, going out. Should be getting received here in the next day or two by our young invitees, and just excited to get this ball rolling. Still underway here. Still have a couple more spots to fill as we continue to kind of set our board up exactly how we want it. But hey, it's the season of giving, and we're looking forward to giving away some of these invitations to some very deserving young men. And hey, just can't wait to get them in the fold. Rick, you and I are going to be interviewing some of these guys in preparation for the draft and get these interviews out to the NFL clubs. It's one of the great benefits of the NFLPA Bowl. We're the first all-star game to announce that we're going to do some virtual interviews. So just trying to add value however we can, man. Just excited to be that bridge between the players and the NFL clubs here.
Yeah, I mean, it's really a unique event. Obviously, the year of 2020 is virtuoso style, so everything will be virtual. But the NFLPA which traditionally has been in the ballroom at the Intercontinental Hotel, we're taking that virtual. So the players will get a learning experience, an educational experience as they begin their journey to become a pro and transition. And if they're lucky enough to be part of that players union, well, hey, who better to learn it from than the NFL Players Association? And I know a lot of agents have been hitting me up like, hey, are the invites going out? What's the situation look like? You heard Dane say almost 100 invitees going out this week, 90 or so. And, what is the timeline that players can anticipate receiving these invitations, Dane? When is the second wave going to go out? Because I know now that you're on the show announcing it, you're going to get hit up a lot. So let's just clarify that before it all begins.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously with Christmas coming up next week, it's tough to, really expect to get a lot of responses back, and obviously want to give these guys their opportunities. But, hey, Rick, just like last year, we didn't announce anything till after the season. We don't want to be a distraction for these college teams. Some of them still have some lofty goals of, getting to a bowl game, winning a conference championship, competing in the playoffs. We don't want to distract and kind of take away from that. So, we have our first 90 out. We're going to roll out more by the end of this week. And it's just going to be a continuous flow from kind of here on out until we get to where we want to be.
Yeah, and we've talked about it really all week long, John. I mean, with players still deciding, every player being granted that extra year of eligibility, you're now starting to see some of these quarterbacks and others, say, hey, I'm going to return Kenny Pickett, Dustin Crum. I know, too, for example, that we were kind of eyeing here for the NFLPA Bowl event. John, how do you think that shakes up here over the next week or two?
Yeah, funny you should say that. A guy that we had on as a guest, both for his analyst, as a guy, a professional in the business, but also as a father of a player who's gonna been in this circumstance all year. JoJo Domann in the same situation, leading Nebraska in tackles, but he's like, hey, I've never trained for the combine. I've not done that. I've only played, I'm a football player who plays football, like football. That's what I do. Maybe come back. Nebraska's always been pointing toward 21, 22 with those four, classes of recruits, with Scott Frost. That's when they're going to turn the corner. That's when you're going to see kind of a tipping point, in the other direction. So come back, be the team captain, have 100 tackles, be on the radar, right? He was like, right now, if you survey and you get kind of 50-50 draft, not draft, kind of what should you do? And I think that's a real interesting question for a lot of these kids. And I would say that if you're not sure, if it's not a hands down, you're getting drafted, there's nothing better to do than to come back. And I think the other part, and there was a really good quote from a fairly significant college player recently, just the name escapes me, but the kid was saying, what gets overlooked here is that at the end of the day, we're still kids. And I think some of these kids are going to look at this, and some of the reasons you're seeing clubs opt out of playing a bowl game is that literally from the equipment manager to the junior trainers, all the way to the head coach, there's some folks that right about now would like to play the game on Friday or Saturday and then just kind of take a break, right? Like, let's go home for 2 weeks. Let's get our signing class in, and let's kind of exhale. Let's go to grandma's, and hang out for the holidays. And do I want to go into another bubble, right? So wherever I'm at, and we all know where the best training facilities, are at, Jersey. Sorry, I had, Kevin Dunn. Sorry about that. We all know where to go. But you also are now talking about, I went from being on campus, stuck in my room with a regiment and a schedule, to guess where I'm going? A hotel, to be stuck in a room with a regiment for another 8 to 12 weeks. Some of these kids are going to rather just have normal life where you're online, zooming and doing your schedule from home or from your dorm on campus, wait to get a shot or something similar, go back and have an everyday regular life, and then enjoy your senior or junior year, and then hit the real world. And I think there's going to be some kids who are going to turn down everything that's coming up because the path to the draft is so odd and different than it's ever been before. But if you are in, you're guaranteeing yourself another 3+ months of living in that bubble wherever you go, on campus, at a training facility, or something in between, because we mentioned no team's going to draft a guy that has a COVID situation or issue or concern. You're going to be training for a pro day that may or may not get moved back several times. We still don't know the whole, optics of how the combine, is going to work in that situation. I think there's a lot of kids that are going to, look at like Kenny Pickett and say, I can come back and be there. Look at a kid like that. It could be team captain at Nebraska on a team that could be, much better next year, and look at it and say, hey, deferring till I know more about my situation might not be the worst thing. And that was one of the questions I had for you guys, which is when you're doing the invites now, are you leaning more toward the kid that that you've seen a lot more of, or are you looking to give a lesser or a guy that may not be as known to your audience or to the scouts, saying this might be the only opportunity that kid gets to be in front of people, to learn more about him, to say, I got to go back and watch that kid's film, right? Because there were a number of kids last year. Ray Wilbourne, was the one that stood out to me. I didn't know how well, as good of a football player as he was, went back and watched more after hearing, how well he was doing, out there. And he turns out, to be a really good football player. Nick Tiano got on the radar. I think he surprised some folks with, that natural arm strength and, a guy that kind of had a little interesting bio and background about, going from SEC to where he was, and then they changed offenses. Then they sit his best receiver gets sat, his senior year. So, there were a lot of good stories that came out of, what was going on there with you guys last year. But it wasn't the best names that just made the stories. It was some of those last names added to the roster.
Well, and I think, John, it's a responsibility that we have, and especially this year, right? Because I don't want to invite a young man who maybe ought to go back to school and develop for another year, get his degree, set himself up for later on in life, and influence him to leave early for the NFL draft, ultimately for him to not get drafted, not be that priority free agent, and then may not get an opportunity. As I continue to say that there's no guarantee any of these all-star games that are still going to be played, allegedly, are going to be played. There's no guarantee the combine's going to happen. There's no guarantee pro days are going to happen. Just like last year, there's no guarantee rookie mini camps are going to happen, player tryouts are going to happen, preseason's going to happen. So for all those guys that aren't locked to be drafted or aren't locked to make sure that they're signed immediately following the draft, like we all know, those remaining guys are not going to have potentially the same avenues and opportunities that they would in a typical year. And I'm not trying to be doom and gloom, but to your point, I'm trying to find those guys, right? If you're going down to Mobile, that means that you're likely going to be a draft pick. That means you're likely going to have a combine invite, which means you're most likely going to be in front of the NFL clubs enough, right? I don't need to invite a bunch of guys that are also going to the Senior Bowl. But I also want to make sure that the guys that I do invite are guys that, hey, are going to be what we all consider make it guys, meaning that you're not just going to be on a 90-man roster, have your cup of tea, and then be done, right? I want to invite guys that are still going to make up the rest of the draft, that are definitely going to be priority free agents, and that are going to have more than one cup of coffee in the NFL, right? We want future union members as part of the NFLPA Bowl. So, I do earnestly, John, Rick, this as well, sit there and think that we have a responsibility this year to invite guys and through our invitations be giving them good advice that we think they're legitimate NFL prospects for this year. And part of their registration this year is going to be answering a question whether or not they're still on the fence on returning for 2021, 2022 to college, or they're definitely declaring for the draft this year. Because obviously we don't want to take away any eligibility. We don't want to get them into any deep water one way or another. We want to make sure, hey, look, we think highly of you, but if you're not guaranteed to come out, then we need to know that to make sure that we can set them up for their best case scenario.
And I'm going to blow your mind right now, everybody listening. When we hit the airwaves on Monday, there was 194 players in the transfer portal. 194. That was on Monday. As of last night, 411.
Wow.
411. In 2 days, it doubled. That's how crazy this draft cycle is going to be. But I know we've got a jam-packed show. Dane, you've got some guys that stood out from this past week. So hit us with the names. We're still combing the nation, looking for talent, watching the prospects, and a couple guys here that stood out to us on the radar.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Rick, to that point, man, there's nothing like new information to continue to help fine-tune your decision-making. So for us, always trying to get some guys that maybe we haven't talked about already. I think you look at Coastal Carolina's CJ Marable, good little scat back last week in a big game, rushed for $120, scored another 2 touchdowns. Liking his upside, liking his ability to potentially come in, be that late consideration, that priority free agent, come compete for a roster spot, play on special teams. Auburn's Big Cat Bryant. Got to give Auburn a little shout out. We don't, I try to shy away from SEC. They get all the attention they need, but for Auburn having a down year, obviously Axe fell this last week on Coach Malzahn down there, but Big Camp Bryant for them, recording his 3rd sack of the season, helping Auburn get to that 6-win, kind of standard. Good to kind of get some light on him. He's a pass rusher. He's a high motor guy, a little more developmental, still needs to, fine tune some parts of his game, but, still like the upside there for him. Oklahoma State wide receiver Dylan Stoner. I don't know that, perhaps outside of the UNC running backs, maybe no one had more prolific day last Saturday than Dylan Stoner, catching 8 balls for a whopping 247 yards, 3 touchdowns. Mossed a defensive back for one of those in the end zone, showed a little run after catch. 4-year contributor for Polk State. Eclipsed 500 yards receiving every single year of the 4 years, and with his 247 last week, got him over 500 this year. So congrats to him. Staying down south to Georgia Tech, Jalen Camp, big height, weight, speed wide receiver, 5 for 97 and a touchdown last Saturday. Georgia Tech not having a great year. They don't get a lot of publicity, but we feel like Jalen Camp has some upside. He could be a guy to, be a real solid late addition for an NFL team. Come in here, contribute on teams, be a developmental wide receiver for them. Should test very well in the offseason if he gets those opportunities. And then heading out west real quick with San Jose State's quarterback, Nick Starkel. What a great year that the Spartans are having out there in their win versus the Wolfpack last Saturday, 20 for 30 for 306 and 2 touchdowns. Has a 13-4 touchdown interception ratio for the season. Former Texas A&M Aggie and Arkansas Razorback, averaging a career best, John, minus 2.0 yards per carry. All right. He's got those sack numbers down a little bit. So you know what? We're starting to turn the trend there. And then finally down at USC, I'm going to butcher the name. Running back I really like, Vave Malapie, 19 carries for 110 yards and a touchdown. Career high 16 receptions this season, involved both running and in pass game, both as a receiver and a blocker. Tough-nosed player. Really like his makeup. He's going to be a special teams contributor. He's going to be one of those solid late additions to a team where he'll stick as that 3rd, 4th running back.
Yeah, he'll be like a Deion Lewis that just figures out a way to stick around somehow, some way. And Jalen Camp, I know when I spoke to Jeff Collins when he first took over the job, he could not speak highly enough of Jalen Camp. And, if you remember, he was buried in that triple option offense the first couple seasons. And, now you're starting to see him make plays as they begin to open up that offense. Going back to your first guy, C.J. Maribel, Coastal Carolina, I have to say, unfortunately, Lorenzo Taliaferro, a former Coastal Carolina running back, passed away yesterday at the age of 28. Terrible news, heart attack. And so our thoughts and prayers go out to the Taliaferro family there. But, Dane, I know we have an abbreviated segment here today. We appreciate you jumping on like you do each and every Thursday, and look forward to chatting with you later on, probably today and, of course, next week.
All right, fellas. I always appreciate the time on here. John, stay good down in the south, and Rick, always great seeing you up here, bud.
Absolutely. Love to chop it up. And, the Lorenzo Taliaferro, I mean, you remember back when Ray Rice was suspended, Taliaferro was a guy who kind of stepped in very nicely and, was a pretty good contributor at the NFL level. So thoughts and prayers out to the Taliaferro family. And, of course, thoughts and prayers out to the Jason Garrett family who tested positive for COVID. Freddie Kitchens back in the saddle calling plays for the Giants. John, any thoughts here before we welcome on our next guest?
Yeah, I mean, it just keeps showing you, things can happen in a moment's notice, and a 28-year-old kid, had his whole life in front of him. That's, not something you want to hear or wake up to, on any day. And wish Jason Garrett the best. Garrett great football family, better people. If you ever interacted with him, Jason Garrett's daddy was an all-timer. Told some amazing stories at workouts I've gone to in Jersey and Pennsylvania, and nobody prouder of his kids, for making it to the NFL ranks the way his daddy did. But, great family. We wish him the best and get healthy as fast as possible. And then, we can hope that the Giants, have a big week, this week with Freddie Kitchens calling the game, for them. And maybe that helps Coach Kitchens, maybe it's just meant to be, Coach Kitchens gets a chance to call a game and you get a little spark. And, that's all you need as a coach to kind of bounce your way back up the ladder.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Jason Garrett and his family, longtime football loyalty with his pops, a football lifer, as is our next guest who joins us here. I missed him last week when Joe DeLeon was filling in for me, but we're happy to have him again this week. He is the commissioner of the Fan-Controlled Football League, of course, a former NFL veteran in his own right. Sugar Ray Austin joins us now on the state of football. Good morning, Commissioner. How are you today?
Rick, John, what's good, man? I see you, NFL Bible boys. Y'all love early.
Oh, yeah, we got to preach the good gospel of the NFL Draft Bible, and we got all the disciples in the chat room tuned in, our listening audience here, so we always appreciate all the love and support. And we are looking forward to the Fan-Controlled Football League, which is kicking off, I think, in just about a month or so. What kind of news and developments can you hit us with this week?
Oh boy, no, it's been a crazy. We've been up all night. It's just on social media. One of our team captains just went bananas yesterday. Literally went from 3,000 followers for his team, Bob Minery, 3,000 followers for his team to now like 16,000 all in one night. So that is the type of movement that we look for, because, that means that eyeballs are getting and people are understanding what we're trying to do. We're trying to create, the franchise mode in Madden. You know what I mean? We're a live video game for our players and for our fans. We're allowing our fans to pick the logos, the names, the jerseys, the players, draft, the coaches, and even call plays during the game. So, man, we're just super excited, man. I've been on the recruiting and scouting mode right now. I've just been getting tons and tons of applications from the website. If you guys don't know, it's fcf.io. You can go there, and if any players that have film, they want to upload some of their film, man, there have been thousands and thousands of guys that we've been going through. We're going to bring in 100 guys in camp, and we're probably up to about 72 guys that we're signing. So time is shrinking, man. All you free agents that are free agents sitting on the couch, you better get with it.
Yeah, and we talked about this several times on this show. There's not a lot of opportunities for guys to get film laid down.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So there's no XFL, there's no CFL. Guys want to play on Sundays, but some of these guys, they don't have any pro film. Well, hey, here's an opportunity. Go compete. Go show that you're in shape.
Yeah. Right.
Because that's a big question mark that these teams want to know. Have you been doing what you're supposed to be doing, or were you sitting on the couch like you said?
Yeah, man. A 1 minute video of you doing some ladder drills ain't it. That's not going to be enough. Look, I was my last year in the league. I got hurt. I was at Green Bay. I think I told the story last time, but ended up that's the year the XFL came out, and I was like, man, I'm not playing with that crap. That looks crazy. And going back and forth with my agent was like, dude, this is an opportunity. You can't afford sitting on the couch waiting for a team to call you. Ended up playing for the XFL, had a great year, had made a ton of good film, and got a tryout for the Detroit Lions. So, that's the type of thing that these other leagues can offer, especially if they're innovative. And that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, and I think anytime that, something comes along that people aren't familiar with or isn't a household name yet, there's always skepticism, right? And we dealt with that, John, a little bit with the camps we did out in San Diego. There was players there that were kind of skeptical of it. And guess what? Now they saw a couple guys get brought in to camp, a couple guys sign some contracts, and guess what? Now they're all hitting it. Hey, when's the next camp?
Yep.
When's the next opportunity?
That's how it was with our tryouts. We literally had to add another tryout because everybody was asking after they saw us posting about the first 3 tryouts. Now they see there's an opportunity. And, when you're on your grind, you cannot listen. You don't have time to sit. You got to be out there putting a resume together. I call it a digital resume. Again, if you're not putting out film, you're just not. You're gonna be forgotten about. So I'm glad that you guys are like really pushing that message, because that's really important for players right now. Not with the COVID and how the more and more information and stuff that I see and hear about how these guys are dealing with COVID, man, my heart goes out to you. I just want to say that straight up. My heart goes out to all the players, and I know there's a ton of stuff going on in the world, worse than us not being able to play football and go to camps and whatnot. But I know these guys dream for this. They dream. I was so happy to go to the Hula Bowl and the Senior Bowl. So I understand that. So I feel sorry for these guys, but at the same time, that does not stop your dream, and it does not stop your plan. You just got to learn how to pivot. And when you see opportunities, you got to notice opportunities. Some people see opportunities and look at it and go, man, I ain't doing that. Well, that's fine. Leave that opportunity for someone else that really wants to care about their career.
Yeah, the great ones will learn how to adapt and figure it out. And, to your point, running some cone drills on the beach in the sand, isn't going to get you signed. So
you know what I mean? I can't tell me how many videos I've got. Like, you doing 3 routes, and I'm like, and I'm supposed to sign you from that? Like, give me some film. And when you guys are putting your highlight, this is another thing I see about a lot of players. I have to say, I do respect and love that these guys are really trying to brand themselves, and they're using their platforms to try to expose, show people what they're doing. But make sure that you're putting together not just your highlight film, but put film together. When I say film, I mean complete film. You know what I mean? Don't just show a player or scouts everything that you do right, because scouts and coaches want to see what you do wrong too. They have to understand both sides of the coin and both sides of the player that they're getting. So just because you sit in a 1-minute highlight film isn't enough. Link up with your full videos, all your videos, so we can really see what type of player you are. Let the fans really see you hustle every play. Don't just show 3 plays of you giving effort. Show every play of that. That's how you get noticed from scouts.
No, it's a very important message. And, I know the first thing they say, hey, can I send you my highlight film? It's better than nothing if you have nothing. But, the first thing I do is put it on mute. And the second thing I do is once I start seeing like XCIX and rumbles and you make a tackle and the screen starts shaking, I'm putting right up for that one. Ray Austin here on the State of Football, Ric Serritella, John Murphy. What do you got for the commission?
Yeah, so obviously we know one thing. If he said he got some videos with just 3 or 4 plays, we know Big Law, who's in the room, probably sent him his highlight clips. So we know Big Law probably sent him his highlight clips with his couple of touchdowns on there, just hoping to get a shot. One more shot there. And then the other thing that blew my mind is, wait a minute, Ray, you said there's worse things in the world than not being able to go to camp or play football? How dare you? How dare you, Ray Austin? Shut that mic off.
Is that blasphemy on the show?
Put that mic on mute.
You can just edit that. That's what makes it so great. You just edit that out.
But I think the other parts is what we mentioned last week that are so interesting, I think, to fans, but can draw fans that maybe aren't always just a pure sports fan to hear that you're not only able to pick the players, but they're picking the color scheme, they're picking the name, they're doing stuff with the play. So like this is relating to the gamers, but maybe even the gamer's girlfriend, or maybe even on the reverse side, the sports fan who's a female, their husband who's in business or something else and is not always a sports fan. How is that other part of the game and what you guys are doing? What's going on with that part? Because we always talk about the draft and the players, but you guys are doing all the other parts too. What's the next kind of thing that fans are going to be able to, be a part of creating for the fan?
Yeah, man. Look, I say this all the time. Music, fashion, and entertainment. They all smash together. Athletes want to be actors and models, and rappers want to be basketball players. Now everybody's a content creator. You know what I mean? So it's like we're smeshing all that together, and allowing fans to say, man, look, I don't like those jerseys. Let me vote and see if I can have the chance to change that, and maybe my idea may have some influence on what they're wearing. Or, you know, I don't like our wide receivers. Let me go out and help them find some wide receivers. Let me go on Huddle or YouTube. I remember guys that used to play at University of Tennessee and Michigan getting drafted, but could be great for our team. Use your skills. Like you see everybody sitting on the couch always talking about football. You see guys in the bar always telling, you know, preaching to the TV and saying what they can do better. We're looking for that. We're putting you in a position to really use your skill to be able to say, hey, look, I actually had something to do with the impact of that team, whether it was picking players, picking coaches, calling plays, picking the logo, picking the music. You know what I mean? We are wanting our fans to be so engaged with not only our players, our content with each other, and even our team owners. You know, how awesome is it going to be playing in the same Twitch community as Quavo or Marshawn Lynch, and you're a part of his team. You get to chat out with Marshawn Lynch. You get to talk to Quavo and say, man, we got to get a better quarterback. You know, we got to give, you know, Johnny Football or, you know, I don't know. You never know what names might come out of people's mouths.
Whoa. Well, let's stop you right there, Commish.
Did I say edit that too? You got to edit that too.
There's some rumblings here now. There's some rumblings. There could be.
I don't know what you're talking about, but all I do know is, as the commissioner, I'm out there. I'm going under every rock. I'm going into every field. I'm going to every college. I'm going to every bar. I'm trying to find the best players for this team. But in all seriousness, I'm looking for players that are looking to the brands. Serious. That's what we're doing. We're everybody asks me, what did you get out of the NFL? And I'm like, man, besides a bad shoulder and 2 bad knees, I got a network and I got access. I got able to get to things and get to people after my career was over. So I was able to jump in some things like the entertainment industry and modeling and acting right after I was playing ball. We're trying to create that same platform for our athletes. If you are a talent, and I say talent, everybody says football, I say talent, because a talent is able to perform on any stage, whether it's a football field or in a boardroom or on camera. And we're looking for guys that are out there trying to promote themselves, that are not just, they're working behind the scenes. They go to the gym, they go work out, and then they go home and they go edit that video that they made at the gym because they're trying to get their name out there. That's the type of talents that we're looking for our league.
Oh, damn. So you're about to be drafting Rick in the first round.
Yeah, I got some gas in the arm. Let's go, baby. Stretch it out. Work it out. We got you covered here.
I don't know about that. Nick might be Mr. Irrelevant, but we'll, you know, still, you know, you get in. It's all about how you fit in, Rick. That's all, bro.
Hey, well,
all that gets you is quarantine in Atlanta. It's irrelevant. You don't get the same trip out to California. You just get the quarantine in Atlanta.
Well, let's talk about that, because I know that's a question that comes up often from the players, from the agent. Yeah. Hey, we're going to be going down to Atlanta in this 4-week league or whatever it is. How safe am I going to be? What are you guys doing protocol-wise to make sure that this league stays COVID-free?
Yeah, man, we did a lot of research and got a lot of saw some of the mistakes that a lot of leagues had made, and you know, and you know, the streets were talking, and so we wanted to make sure we were going to be straight. So we went out and got a COVID protocol doctor. She was with one of the minor league basketball teams that did very, very well. They had 0 outbreaks, so we brought her in to be our consultant. Jason Chilton, our head of football experience, is handling that. I mean, he's doing an exceptional job. We're all going to be staying. All our players, staff, production will be staying at the Hilton in Duluth, Georgia. We have a 357-room hotel, and every player has his own room. When I was playing with the Chicago Bears and the New York Jets and went to training camp, I never had my own room. When we went on away games, we still had roommates. That's how things have changed, and that's the way, you know, we have to be safe for our players. So we're having guys come in. They're going to get tested before when they get there. We're going to have them in special what we call pods, putting guys in groups so we don't get, if something horribly happens and that happens, he does not affect the entire group. We don't end up losing 3 quarterbacks because all the quarterbacks are together. But we've thoroughly thought this through because, number one is there's two. I'll say there's 2 reasons. Number one, safety, and we want our players we want them to know that we're there to take care of you. That is my number one goal. I know my other partners are a part. Our co-founders are a part of the company to do certain things. My job here is to make sure our players are safe. And we're building equity into the league. So in doing that, we have to make sure that we're keeping our guys healthy. So we're taking that 100% serious.
No, I love to hear that, and the players should feel safe going down there and playing. Pick up a couple bucks in your pocket, lay down some film, get to meet great players and coaches, and Commissioner Ray Austin again. FCF.io, FCF.io, and we're going to be bringing you coverage of the league. We're going to be bringing you names you need to know. We're going to be reporting who's moving, who's shaking. And it's really a cool concept. I mean, it's like a real life fantasy football, literally, where each week teams get to choose their team, vote for who they want to see play. And, you're going to have people politicking, like you said, Marshawn Lynch and Richard Sherman and guys, politicking for who they want to be playing on their team. So it's really interactive. It's very virtual. And again, we have Commissioner Ray Austin here with Ric Serritella, John Murphy. Any last questions for the commission before we let him go, John?
Yeah, so when we were talking last night, you were talking about, hey, after they get that protocol, so then the kids that were invited are going to get like a week of training, kind of learn the game, like learn what they're going to be doing, and then that's running right into a draft.
Yeah,
is conceptually walk the fans through if they're excited about that opportunity. To when that happens, how do you visualize the fans interacting with that? Is that a live format? Is that something online?
Yeah.
And are those players literally sitting there right out in front of you, like we're out on the playground and somebody's saying, I got that guy?
But John, not just 1 week, every week. So every week there'll be a different draft, and all the same players will be able to play with different quarterbacks, different teams. What was so cool last night, some of the conversation got out with some quarterback that might be playing for our league got out, and I just got hit by wide receivers. Like, yo, I want to play with him. Yo, let me know. When can I go train with them? I was like, everybody's probably going to get a chance to catch a ball from him if it happens. So, but yeah, we're going to have a draft every week. When we go into training camp, we're going to have the guys train. Everybody's going to learn the same playbook. One playbook. And I know everybody's like, that's stupid. It's the best. We're having one playbook with multiple formations, multiple plays, and the players will learn all the same playbook. Why? Because when they get drafted, if you know about football, when you get drafted, you got to learn a completely whole playbook and language. And there could be a learning curve from a lot of players. So instead of having that, we want guys to be like, boom, you got trade. Now you're with Marshawn's team next week. Now you're with Quavo's team this week. Well, the same, the same plays, the book. It's all good. They all learn the playbook. We'll have that draft. It'll be a live draft, and the players, and the fans all week. And this is the thing that I'm glad you brought that up is we don't want fans just coming in and just coming in and voting just for hey, I'm going to come in and play this on Saturday. That's not that. Do you show up to your work once a week to get paid? No, you come every week. That's what we want. We want you coming every week. You're going to come every week, watch film. We're going to open up our film sessions with our coaches, so you can not only learn football, but you can learn from real quality coaches. We have former NFL coaches, CFL coaches that you're going to be able to learn from. As you're learning what type of players, what type of formations and plays to run, that builds you up to Saturday, to the draft. You're like, man, I liked him in practice. I liked him in practice. I like that. That's my running back. That's my quarterback. And you start talking amongst yourselves as fans, and you start to put together your team. Every week, you're allowed to keep one player on your team. Everything else changes. So then that's how you start to build your roster.
Oh, it's very cool. And I like the one playbook because to me, less is more. Right, yeah. You don't want these guys thinking too much. You want them to go out, play, be natural, And that's a true evaluation. So
play fast, don't think. Just play fast, don't think, anticipate, play fast. And that's how we want it. We want it to play like a video game. We want it real fast. This is not a 3-hour game. We're not dealing with that type of audience right now. We got a 1-hour game, fast, quick, no special teams. We took that out. That's how I made my money. So I was a little, but I was like, you know what? We're gonna take out the special teams and we're going to put in for the extra point one-on-one drills. Compete. Go at it, and that's where fans are going to just really get to see their best. Why I don't understand. I mean, if you think about football, it could be a 3-point game or a 2-point game, and you need your field goal. Probably the person that hadn't played the most in the game all year. You put him in to win your game. Instead of doing that, why don't you put the 3 best skill players on the field and let them win the game for you? Defensive back, wide receiver, and quarterback. Let it happen.
Love it. FCF.io. Of course, follow them on Twitter, FCF.io. And parting shot here, Commissioner, before we wrap things up for the people.
Man, any players out there that still want to come out and use our platform to get as much exposure as they can upload their videos on. You can go to FCF.io or players@FCF.io. And if you really want to chat, hit me up on Instagram. I get DM all day by players now. Ray Austin 36, and I'll return your message. And if you're about playing ball, man, let's do it.
All right, good stuff. Commissioner Ray Austin of the Fan Controlled Football League, joining a few minutes here, and I know Coach will definitely have you back soon, hopefully next week, and start announcing some of these names.
Man, shots out. I appreciate you guys, man. You guys get that grind on. I love it. So thank you guys for letting me use the platform. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. We appreciate you having you on. He's a modern day Renaissance man, that Sugar Ray Austin. He's got his hands in the mix with a little bit of everything. And of course, running the Fan Controlled Football League. So we shift gears from Ray Austin to our next guest, who is familiar with the Fan Controlled Football League. Of course, he is Neil Stratton from inside the league, and nobody covers the league better than Neil with his industry rumblings. Neil, how are you today?
I'm doing great. I don't know if we can bring Ray back on. You were talking about getting maybe trying out.
Yeah, bring him back. Bring him back. That's what we do here on the State Football.
If Ray if you get a tryout, I get a tryout, and I want to go one-on-one with you. Ray, you said you want to give Rick a tryout. I want to go one-on-one with him.
Neil, you my dude. But you don't want none of that. You don't want that in your life right now.
I am 51, but I have the body of a 60-year-old, so I'm ready to go. All right.
But this all for looks. I'm just being real. This is all for looks. I do a couple of
Ray, we're listening to these two guys talk about it, and we already know you got Johnny Football right here.
Now it's getting deep, man. Now it's getting
deep. Now we know how to set that league not on its
How you doing, Neil, man?
The best 2-point conversion of all time if the three of us were out there trying to get it for you.
I mean, I've been lucky. I've been privileged to partner with FCF, and Rick, I know you've been talking to Ray for a while. It's exciting what they're doing. I'm excited. Every time I hear Ray talk, sorry about my dogs, they're excited too. Every time I hear Ray talk, I get excited. I'm looking forward to this. And, I know that y'all have been discussing it, and it's a really exciting concept. And it's, a month away or something like that. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, man, a month away, man. And we count down the days. that mental clock is going down every day. And from dealing with, the creativity side of this, the content side of this, the scouting of this, the recruiting of the players, the coaches, people, I think, it's so funny, man, when you hear the trolls and this is not going to work. I can't believe this. And I'm like, man, they said that to us 7 years ago.
Right.
And see, though that short-mindedness, that's when you just kind of funnel away from that. And you go, man, we're going full speed. And the team that we're putting together, when I say team, I mean the organization itself, man. It's like the bullets we're putting in the gun, are they all fire the same? And that's what's so great about what we're joining. Like, we're all working from home. We haven't met 70% of this new staff, and we're all working from home, building not only a football sports organization, but a tech company at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, what's most exciting to me, Ray, is y'all doing something different. Everyone wants to go off and, hey, let's start another alternative football league or maybe minor league. That's not what y'all are at all. Y'all are something completely different. It's football, of course.
Yep.
but it's in a new format, a new style, and a new everything that brings the fans in a lot more. And so that's what's exciting about it to me.
It's so funny you said that, man, because the sports industry hadn't changed for a long time because of the internet. People needed to do stuff outside as a family, so they went to arenas. And that's how the arenas depended on ticket sales and the lean back, fan that would have the Coke and the hot dog. We're dealing with a different fan now. We're dealing with the millennial generation, the Gen X, the ones that they're leaning forward. They're on their cell phone. They're tweeting about what just happened. They just did a screenshot, IG that, you know what I mean? We're dealing with a different fan. So you have to be innovative with that fan. Instead of playing in 13 different cities and trying to market 13 odd cities that you don't know anything about and wasting money, why not compress that, put them all together and keep that where you can now put that more into innovating the game. And that's what we've done, man. It's just, it's like watching your child grow. It's 7 years old, man, and it's just amazing to watch and see this stuff happen.
Well, kudos to you, Commissioner, because you're right. You guys have, I think, maybe cracked the code here with the millennial audience, which people don't realize. That's the majority of the viewers nowadays. And so, while you or I might not want to be logged on to Twitter while we're watching a game, the reality is, that's part of the game experience these days. That's what people, right? That's how they experience it.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think. You had two of the greatest fighters fighting on a app, 3 weeks ago. So and one of the top rappers in history, being the announcer. that just shows you how the world is changing and how people are consuming content. And we want to be a part of that. And we, like I said, man, we're looking for players that are looking and trying to, grow their brands and understanding that. Look, the NCAA's even gotten it. Finally, I feel proud and honored for those boys that stood there and now can make money off of their likeness. I remember when I played at the University of Tennessee and my family came up and went and going to the college stores and I had like maybe one rack with 6 jerseys on it, and my family couldn't even afford them. They were $99, and that was my dad's name. My father's name was on the back of that jersey, and he couldn't even get it. And I was just like, I just don't understand that. And so I'm proud of these guys that finally understood, like, no, my brand means something than me just catching balls and scoring touchdowns. I can do more with that, and if you allow me to. So that's this. It's already being embedded in our athletes right now.
All right, Commish. Well, hey, we kept you a little bit longer than we anticipated, so we greatly appreciate the time. I know we'll be catching up and chopping it up off the air, so thank you so much for joining us here on The State of Football.
Thanks, guys.
All right, have it. Ray Austin, fan-controlled football league. I'll be honest, Neil, I'm more excited for this than I was about the XFL. I'm just being honest.
Well, I mean, it's a chance to be interactive. It's a chance to play a role in this stuff. I mean, everyone wants to run a team, right? This is a lot cheaper than come up with $500 million or $1 billion or whatever. And you get to kind of interact with other people that are of a like mind. I think it's a really, really awesome concept.
Yeah, I think we may have lost my co-host here, John Murphy, during that segment with his internet issues. We got to get John a lifeline and get that internet bill paid. But Neil Stratton, of course, joins us every Thursday, 9:40 a.m. Eastern time. We're so lucky to have him each and every week on The State of Football. Neil, I missed you last week. Did get a chance to tune into the segment. Always good stuff. What's on the docket this week? Of course, the Friday wrap is coming out tomorrow. Sign up at InsideTheLeague.com for that. You can follow him on Twitter. He always posts the link where to sign up. And, of course, SucceedInFootball.com is, really the best source, I think, if you want free advice on terms of, what's going on in the industry. How can I find success in football in different areas and avenues? So make sure you check that out. But what's the latest and greatest going on in the Neil Stratton universe?
Well, this week we'll kind of take a look back at what we have done this year in the Friday Wrap, kind of the different topics we've discussed, agent-related, scouting-related, just general football related to the business, the industry. We'll talk a little bit about the first I guess, rumblings we're hearing about GM interviews for the open slots across the league. It's been kind of interesting watching the names that have been floated publicly. And Rick Smith, former Texans GM, is going to interview with the Lions. I believe Louis Riddick, who's with the Steelers for a long time now with ESPN, is going to interview. Terry Fontenot, the pro director for the Saints, has interviewed in Atlanta. It's interesting that a lot of these names have been publicly kind of leaked, so to speak, and they're all on the Troy Vincent memo that's been pretty controversial around the league. But I think to me the bigger story is this just for show? Because all these guys are. I think as we've discussed in previous episodes here, it seems like more and more the head coach is the one that's kind of making the GM hire, or at least having a lot of input into it. It seems to me maybe having GM interviews at this point is a little bit putting the cart before the horse. But maybe, different teams have different ideas about how they want to do things. And maybe, these are teams that are going to go the traditional route, hire a GM who will then in turn hire the head coach. We'll see.
Interesting. I'm curious to know, Neil, have you heard, will it be in-person interviews? Will these be virtual interviews? Will they be a combination of both? Do we have any idea?
It's a great question. I don't know. And I haven't seen that addressed. Maybe I've missed it, but I would presume, typically you're going to have more than one interview with a candidate that you're really interested in. And I would presume the first one's going to be Zoom, but I don't know how you have a real interview with someone you're going to hand the keys to the franchise to without actually sitting across the table from them, shaking hands with them. Now, maybe that's a gloved hand. Maybe you're only seeing this part of their face instead of the whole face, but I can't imagine you wouldn't do an in-person at some point. I don't know, but I can't speak directly to any of this.
Yeah, it would be a tough call for me to hire somebody without being able to break bread and, at least share that personal interaction. I think it's invaluable. Of course, Neil Stratton joining Ric Serritella and John Murphy here on The State of Football. John, what do you got for Neil?
Yeah, kind of, to that end, it makes you wonder, you can wonder if out loud are the teams doing these interviews to click off a box, right, and say they did them, or are they doing them this way because we are living in different times and they're saying like, hey, we want to get the first part of the interview done, lay the groundwork for who then is going to move to, the next part, of that interview. And are you going to get to the point where it just ends up being, having that just small set of people, that they end up having involved, in it, to say you may not be in front of as many people, as you were at other times, but, you would think that they could set up, a way to do that, even with the physical distancing enough to do it, live, and not that other way. Because the other part that would be really interesting is there's a lot of people who could do some really good interviews, but if you're having to do it live and come up with your, presentation and then figure out the technology of how you're sharing that presentation and walking people through it, there'll be some people online learning PowerPoint real quick. You'll definitely need to know what you're doing, in that. Because just a quick funny story, when I did it for Saskatchewan, they had you send it to the person that they had, the hiring firm, and the hiring firm person was like your assistant during the interview. So he was like, before the interview, the guy's got like, when I get there, he's got like, he's lint rolling the suit for you. Like, like he's working for them, but in that moment, he's working for you, for them.
Wow.
And he's like, so I got 3 different coffees here. Like, which one? I didn't know if you liked cream or sugar or both or whatever. He's like, and we're about to go in. So, and you're thinking just to yourself, like what you want to talk about and how you want this to go. And like right before we're going in the door, the guy's like, and this guy's like 30 years old, prim and proper, like totally not somebody I would probably thought I would hang out with. And right before we go in, he was like, all right, let's do this. And I'm like, who is this guy? I'm like, I've known him for 7 minutes, and he's like fist pumping me as we go in. And I'm just like dying laughing as to myself. I'm like, I don't even know who this guy is. He's like, let's do this. But when we're in there, he's looking at me like to give him the signal to like move the slide, and like do the whole presentation. So, if it's anything like that where you got to learn something different on the fly to then be part of your evaluation, it was that they wanted somebody who not only was evaluating you because I had interacted with them on the phone and the computer, but that they said, what did you think of the presentation? Like, what did you think of the information they put together? So in reality, your interaction with those people, that these hiring firms, is another evaluation as part of the actual evaluation. So, there's a lot of levels to it when you're not dealing with COVID, that can be very different than what you've ever dealt with or done before at that level. But it's usually an organization really wanting to try to find out, who is this that we're giving the keys to? How are they going to be in our organization, right? Because you hear all the time about how people are doing their jobs, but then you hear, organizations that are doing the right things, that are run the right way, that have employees that want to be around and be in there long term. And it's very interesting pattern, right, to hear, what people are saying, and you see the Dolphins' success on the field. But then if you interacted with 3 or 4 of the guys that now have those jobs, you're not surprised that people are enjoying being in that building, right? Enjoying the work, enjoying the hours. It's not a grind when you're interacting with Chris Greer and Anthony Hunt. You know the kind of people that they have there. And I think if more organizations were putting that time and effort into realizing who they were bringing in their building, the static part after you put all these folks together would stop being there, right? And you see one team in a division like Miami who has a cohesive unit, with Flores and Greer and Hunt and those guys all working together. And then you go right up the road, there to Jersey, and you see a lot of different kind of situations and scenarios coming out of how they did the hiring process, where you kind of put 3 or 4 ingredients together that never should mix, and didn't mix well together. I think that's a very interesting part of this when you add in the COVID to know, hey, would you really know that these guys can get along? Would you really know what kind of interaction you're going to get between these folks if there's never that downtime, right? Like the downtime in between the interview, if we were all in the room together, is the most valuable part of the equation to know if it's going to work or not, because it's that interaction that you're seeing amongst the people, to guide you in the direction of knowing 5 minutes of watching Andrew Gase and Greg Williams together would have kind of told you that they weren't going to be buddies, right? They would not hang out with each other naturally. So you're trying to create something that can happen naturally, because now when you saw Parcells and Belichick all these years later, you still saw the same relationship on camera that they showed you 30 years ago when they first met, right? They kind of love-hate, but there's a lot of respect. And then every once in a while, one of them wants to let the other one know what they think, right? So you saw that the whole time in their relationship, but it happened naturally. If you try to force it in sports, I think it's no different than trying to force any other relationship in life. It's not going to work. And now you add the pressure of pro football to it. It's just it's a match, not made to work, from the jump. And I think you can go back and look at a lot of those and say, when teams make hasty decisions, that's kind of where they make wrong ones.
Yeah, it's a good point, and definitely a real thing that teams are going to have to deal with. Neil, hopefully I can get one more question fired off with you here, because I'm curious to pick your brain on this one. I received my Senior Bowl media credential request last week. I'm hearing so many mixed signals. I had heard that the outlook was kind of dire, and then the credentials came about a day or two later, like, hey, we've got this virtual kind of event you can sign up for, but we're still having in-person media. I'm curious, just what are you hearing? What are you feeling? Everybody goes down to Mobile for different things. John might be going for evaluating. You might be going for networking. I might be going for a little bit of both. What do you make of that? Because that is now just about a month away.
Yeah, I was really excited to see. I haven't filled mine out. You're way ahead of me, Rick. But
I didn't fill it out. I just said I got it.
I'll give you too much credit. Sorry about that. I haven't filled it out either. And usually, in a normal time, I fill it out the week before, like everybody else. I'm going to do it a little sooner this time. I don't know exactly. I know what I've been told from reading the memo that came with that email is they're going to have the media in a separate place. It's going to be, it will be in person, but it's going to be very restricted in a way that we haven't seen before, obviously. That's going to be difficult for people like all three of us. We do go down there to watch the players, but we go down there to renew acquaintances and meet people we haven't met before and kind of get updated on things and learn about the direction the league's going. And with the second floor of the Renaissance closed this year, with distances kind of mandated in the USA's new stadium, Hancock-Whitney, it's going to be a very different Senior Bowl. And I think a lot of people go to the game thinking, I'm going to go and meet people and hand out resumes and do all those kinds of things. I don't know how much of that there's going to be this year. It's going to have a very different feel. And last year, I know all three of y'all, both of y'all were there. All three of us were there. It seemed like a diminished number of people that were there anyway. I don't know. I think I remember sitting in the end zone and talking to you about it last year, Rick. I don't know. Now, when I talked to Jane, who handles all the, applications or whatever, she said the numbers were the same. Maybe they are, but it seemed like numbers were down anyway. Maybe we're seeing the Senior Bowl lessened in importance. I would hate that because it's my favorite week of the year every year, and it's been such a big part of my life for going on 20 years now, and such a big part of the NFL. And at the Senior Bowl, which I call the Senior Bowl the NFL's backyard barbecue. I mean, everyone gets to go, and it's a kind of an outdoor experience, and everyone kind of moves in packs, and you get to really meet a lot of people. The Combine's the exact opposite. It's like a private party, Try to walk into the players' hotel without basically getting a gun pointed at you almost if you don't have the right credential on. So, I hope that that the Senior Bowl doesn't become the Combine, but it's a real possibility going forward as the world kind of adjusts to these new things that we're having to deal with.
Yeah, interesting stuff. I was curious just your perspective on that. Of course, Neil Stratton, Inside the League, author of Scout Speak. If you haven't picked that up, go to Amazon. Do it right now. What a phenomenal book. If you're into the scouting process, if you want behind-the-scenes stories, tales from the scouting trails, as we like to call them, Neil has a chock full in that one. And, of course, Moving the Chains, also available on Amazon. We've had quite a few parents and players hit us up recently about, would we do an online educational seminar? Well, we're trying to wrangle something together, but I'll tell you what, if we don't, go pick up Moving the Chains. It's basically exactly what we would be talking about, guiding you through the process, how to navigate the all-star circuit, what it means if you do or don't have a combine invite, what a pro day could entail. And a lot of players out there kind of needing that direction right now more than ever before. That book, Moving the Chains, I think is the most valuable year is this year to go pick that book up. Anything else, Neil, you want to impart upon the listening audience before we let you go?
The point you made is a good one, Rick. This is this year more so than ever, especially those guys who are kind of seventh round bubble players. Do I come out? Do I stay in school? Do I transfer? Do I enter the portal? So many big questions to answer. And, I hope we do get to do something with parents. I'll be honored to be part of that. Other thing I want to say, John, I don't have a lint roller guy, and I don't think you do either. And I'll talk to Dane. I don't think he does. We need to put some pressure on Rick. I mean, without us, there's no show, right? I mean, I want a lint roller guy. I want someone out here to get me ready for these shows. And Rick needs to open his wallet if he still wants to keep us around. Let's stay strong on this, John. Let's be strong, buddy. All right?
We'll unionize. That'll show him. Well, I don't know. After last week, he was kind of feeling down after you picked the Patriots for him and gave him another L.
That's not on me, all right? I should have given my disclaimer about that. That is not on me. I don't pick games, all right? I'm not good at that.
He had a guest picker. It was between you and Ryan Roberts. Combined, you guys went 0 for 2, so.
I didn't make any promises, all right? No promises at all.
By celebrity guest pickers, we're not Well, Neil, hey, I know we're going to chat off the air and be in constant communication as we always are, but we appreciate you joining us here on The State of Football every Thursday, 9:40 a.m. Eastern time, and appreciate your patience here as we took you overtime and made you wait a little bit.
That's
Check
always
us in the
fun,
mail.
man. Every minute of waiting is worth it.
All right, that's Neil Stratton inside the league, good friend of the show, and someone we're honored and privileged to know. John, we do have a Thursday night football game, and I am going to pick a winner tonight. And the Chargers 4-9 at the Raiders 7-6. As you know, the Raiders, one of my preseason darlings, not looking too good on the outside looking in. But you know what? I believe that Gruden is going to rally the troops here. He is going to, rise up from the desperation, keep the playoff hopes alive. And, I'm going with the Raiders.
Yeah, they're at home. I think you saw the rebound for the Chargers after that 45-0, defeat. They had Atlanta coming across country. Not surprisingly, Matt Ryan looks like one guy when he has everybody together. Looks like another guy when there's no Julio Jones, in the mix. I think the two things that, would be concerning for me with the Raiders and just in terms of with 3 games left here is the ground game has, like the injuries and the COVID stuff with the O-line, and then the ground game, they've lost it there, to what it was earlier in the season when it was giving them such a high-powered offense. Now Ruggs is kind of caught with the COVID, but, I think the Raiders at home, there's enough there in the tank, and I think that what they have to play for. I thought last week with the Chargers, it was them showing that they didn't give up on Anthony Lynn. As a player, as the players on that team, they were not going to go from 45-0 to here comes Atlanta, and if they lay another egg, everybody knows what that would have meant for sure, right? So they do have something to play for. They have a good young, nucleus of guys. It'll be interesting to see what they do with their coach and some of their big-name free agents at the end of the year. But I think the Raiders still have a lot to play for. They know it's a tight race now, and they probably put themselves in the hole. But I still think the Raiders believe that they're playing for something bigger in the sense of if you still finish 9-7 or 10-6, whether you're the last team that's in the playoffs or the first team out, I still think winning and having a winning record is something that Mike Mayock and John Gruden especially feel like this club and this franchise needs to get that winning season under their belt just to kind of get it out of their system, right? And then you can start talking about, what you're doing from there. And that's what, the future can be about with all their young players that they have. But I think, Carr has played very well for the most part. I think he's, proven that he's their guy. There should be no more talk about that. I think the Raiders have enough. And yeah, you're not going to catch me tonight taking the Chargers. I'm not giving you that one so easily.
Yeah, we're going to have an updated standings here soon. But no, I agree. They had to change the culture. They had to bring their own players in. And I think, winning record would keep that momentum going into next season. And, we'll be watching that one tonight. Tomorrow, believe it or not, the State of Football, episode 100. Whoa. Who would have thought, John, when we started this thing in the summer, we'd be here in 100 episodes later, but here we are. And I know Big Law will be joining us. We got Justin Van Fulpen is going to join the show. I'm reaching out to a couple other State of Football guests to kind of hop on and reminisce, and we'll have our usual kind of Football Friday format, but we'll also have friends in the family of the State of Football tomorrow, and looking forward to that one.
Yeah, and also big weekend. Lots of conference championship games. A lot of games that will decide what this Final Four grouping looks like, and so all the politicking that you've heard all week, leading up to it, which is hey, a close game with Notre Dame, we still might be in the top 4. A close game the other way, both teams will then probably make it. Does Florida? Can they kind of pull out an upset after last week's devastating loss to LSU? And then what happens in that scenario? Can Florida get over the top, because no one has ever gotten from past 6 into the top 4. Florida's right on the outside of that. Are you really telling me if Florida were to win that game, is Alabama still in the top 4 then regardless? And who does Florida overcome? And if Alabama wins, are you just kind of stuck with the shakeup of, are they going to take a 2-loss Clemson, a 1-loss A&M, a 2-loss Iowa State if they were to beat Oklahoma, or does everybody have to lose and then Cincinnati can get in undefeated? There's still a lot to go on here this weekend. With one upset, not much changes. But you could have 2 or 3 because Northwestern, they are all ranked teams playing. It's not the upset you're talking about to say it's somebody outside or a local rival or somebody like that clips you at the finish line. This isn't South Carolina, trying to beat Clemson. It's a rematch, with a Notre Dame team that's playing better offensively. But now Clemson, with their Heisman Trophy first-round pick quarterback, which will be, I think, again, a rematch of the game of the year. Here it is, part 2, and I expect nothing less than the same last guy who has the ball opportunity in that one. And it does give Florida a chance to kind of save their season if they were to upset Alabama. Whether they get into it or not, is another story. And we've mentioned it. I'm not sure how many other bowl games we're going to see. So we know that those teams are playing. The Final 4 are playing for sure. I don't know how many other bowl games you're going to really get to see, leading up to that, because it just seems like the travel, the wear and tear, and the factor that a lot of these teams really want to get to the finish line, deal with recruiting, take a little time off, hit the reset button, and hope for better things when they hit the, for spring ball. And you mentioned, if we're at 411, let's see what that updated number is when we're talking about the games themselves on Saturday morning. And then let's see what it is on episode 101 on Monday. Let's see what we're at, right? Because we may have only added 1 episode, but I got a feeling, that draft portal is not slowing down anytime soon.
Yeah, I see Neil is still on, and I don't know if he caught the stat or the listening audience caught the stat earlier in the show, but on Monday when we went on air, 194 players were in the transfer portal. As of last night, 411. Unbelievable.
Right, and if you just listened right now, Neil Stratton threatened to be 412.
Oh, yeah, he's ready to go, man. Transfer portal, he's all in. And we're all in here on the State of Football. Final point. 1, I don't think the top 4 of that college football playoff has changed. And the fact that a couple of those guys could lose this weekend is very interesting. Also, I'm a little bit surprised. Notre Dame, double-digit dog? Wow. Whoa. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. Of course, we'll talk NFL games of the week. We had a great show. If you're just tuning in, Dane Vandernat, Executive Director of the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl, to kick things off. Of course, Ray Austin, the Fan-Controlled Football League Commissioner. And we close it out with Neil Stratton of Inside the League. Please do join us tomorrow for our 100th edition here on the State of Football. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern. We'll see you.